Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow. I want to go into a little bit more detail about what we know and what we found out, and some of the more intricate details about what we know about the ResetEra now day-old controversy that they have now been involved in when Celine D. Sykes, the person who was a former member of ResetEra, posted to NeoGAF a whole bunch of screenshots of their Discord, their super secret Discord server, and I'm going to get more into detail about what I think about them being super secret here in just a second. However, I do want to get more into detail about why we do think this is a big deal. This is a huge deal that needs to be covered more because it seems as though there is some suppression. Many of the mainstream outlets are not paying that much attention, if at all, or they're trying to squelch the story. They're trying to say it is a nothing burger, when in reality it should be a everything burger. It has everything on it, that mayonnaise, ketchup, pickle, onion, maybe even guacamole if you want to go there. The fact of the matter is that this needs more attention than what it does, and I want to go into a little bit more detail as to why. But the first thing we need to go into detail about is what exactly is going on. Now, if you don't know what exactly is going on, if you have no idea as to what this is all about, the previous special report, episode 92, I talked in detail about what exactly is going on. In brief, this person, Celine D. Sykes, posted a crap ton of Discord screenshots of their super secret Discord server, ResetEra super secret Discord server, and it had, let's just say, some very uncomfortable subject matter that they were talking about in there. Now, let's go into a little bit detail about what exactly that is. Now, of course, ResetEra has been known as being this very militant, very authoritarian website. This has been a offshoot. I call it an offshoot. I'm not sure if it's called an offshoot or not, but I'm calling it that because that's easy for me to explain away that of NeoGAF after Talamalka got into a little bit of trouble. Now NeoGAF is a much better site now, but ResetEra has been known to basically control everything, control the narrative. If you even get it out of line, even just for a second from their worldview, you risk being permabanned. You risk them playing mental gymnastics as to why your opinion is excusing any phobia that somebody might have. And that has been this major problem that ResetEra had found themselves in. And a lot of people, a lot of big name people do go to that site, do go onto ResetEra, and because of that, they actually do get in theory at least, a microcosm of what people believe about the general gaming community at large. Now, when you get people who are in a community that has been purged of any quote-unquote wrong think, let's put it that way, and I have always avoided trying to use that term for obvious reasons. However, for the lack of a better term, for the lack of better phrasing of this, let's just go with wrong think for right now, and if I have anything better to call it, then I will do that. However, when you purge anybody who even has even a hint of disagreement with, oh, this is transphobia, or this is homophobia, or this is misogyny, or something along those lines that does not fall into line with what the administrators and moderators think, then you can consider yourself perma-banned already, or at the very least 1 week or 1 month ban. And this is really getting to a point where people are starting to get a little tired of it, more or less because there also have been activists. You have no doubt known what they think about the Cyberpunk 2077 ad that recently caused a little bit of controversy. Keep in mind, that is a controversy that they themselves created because they themselves, and only them, think that way. Now, of course, Polygon went and said, hey, we're going to do an interview and talk to him about that. And of course, Polygon is a very progressive leaning site, and more power to them. They want to do that. At the very least, they disclose that that's how they're going to operate. But you can no doubt tell that the majority of the outrage came from ResetEra, and that's how half of these things start out, is that most of the outrage comes from ResetEra. And that is very important for the second half of what I'm about to talk about. However, that is also very much a important discussion, because one of the things that this person who revealed all this has been accused of is just trying to get back at ResetEra because she was banned a number of times. Now, she has admitted that she was banned a number of times, and because of that, you can no doubt say that, hey, why would she do this now instead of trying to get back at him when she was banned the first time? And also that she had this mental illness and that's causing her to rant on and on about this. And that is kind of deplorable to blame this on a mental illness and to try to say that, oh, she had the mental illness, so we should ignore everything she said. That is kind of deplorable, and that shows me that they're just trying to find any way they can in order to kill this story. This seems as though this is some sort of damage control, which is what ResetEra has done. Again, go back to my special report. You will no doubt hear their actions of trying to scrub clean what's been going on, including changing their names. All of a sudden, you're seeing the people who are involved just phantomly changing their names on the site. That seems very peculiar when you go and think about that. When you go and consider that they were ousted in this whole thing. Plus, somebody by the name Lord Kano tried to go onto NeoGAF to try to save face. However, it seemed as either he did a very poor job at it, or he was trying to infiltrate this in order to try to calm the situation down on their end. It didn't seem it worked either way that well. And of course, you also know about how ResetEra is trying to nuke any thread that has anything to do with this story. They're trying to do the mod edit stuff that we showed you on the special report. And they're continuing to do that. They're trying to hide that these things are even there. They're trying to pretend that this story doesn't exist. That this is just a troll trying to infiltrate the site or something like that. This is something far bigger than this. And of course, r/games, the subreddit games, is also trying to squelch this story. And I don't understand why that is a thing. Although, when you think about who runs that site, when you think about who runs that subreddit, and I think Monday Matt touched upon that in his video about this, you'll no doubt know why there might be something there as well. However, let's get to why I do believe this is a bigger deal than what I think people are making it out to be. Now, first things first, let's be quite honest about this, because we've been talking about the whole thing with Sony Censorship, and part of the whole thing with the Sony Censorship is the lolicon stuff. Now, I touched upon what lolicon is in that special report, and I don't know if I should repeat myself about what that is. However, the idea of 16 to 17-year-olds having intercourse with those who are older than that, that is up for debate as to what you would call that. Now, many people would not see this as pedophilia, but at least sexual attraction, that is more common. And then you go into age consent. That's why you saw the age consent talk begin to form in that secret Discord server. Although there is a difference between how the people who are arguing against Sony Censorship are bringing that aspect up versus how the people in this Discord server did. The people in this Discord server seem to want to try to squelch any laws, to try to skirt by any laws. Try to say, hey, where can I go and find a person who's just 16 to 17 years old that I'm not going to get accused of being a statutory rapist? That's how that came off to me. When we're talking about this on the Sony Censorship thing, we're saying, hey, you have to keep in mind how people in other parts of the world and other parts of the country have their age of consent laws. And because of that, because of what their laws are, you have to consider that they're making the game based upon those laws. To where if you are playing the game from Japan, 14 and 15 years old, that's still above the age of consent in Japan. So when you import those types of games into the US, you're not used to that because our age of consent is a little different. So you have to consider where that game originated from. If it originated from Japan, they're making it based upon what their laws are. And their laws are a little bit different. Now, when you're talking about 16, 17 years old, you're also talking about whether or not that person is able to know what a consensual relationship is. And there's a lot of debate that goes into that, and that can actually fill out its own video, its own debate. That is something that is not appropriate to talk about in a video which we talk about another subject, because there's not enough time in order to delve into that. There's not enough time in order to give it the depth that that particular debate deserves. Not that we can't talk about that. Of course, there is room for a debate there, but I want you to understand the separation here. I want you to understand that what we're talking about with the Sony Censorship thing and how ResetEra takes it as far as their site is concerned is a lot different from how the people in the Discord server talked about it. There's a little bit of difference there and a little bit of reasoning, because we're talking about how other countries make their games based upon the laws that they abide by. And that's an entirely different debate. That is an entirely different thing that we're talking about. We shouldn't be censoring games just because our laws don't match their laws. We have to think about in what mindset were they making the game. And again, you can make a whole nother video, a whole nother debate about it. We can't give it justice here. And that may make it seem like I'm giving the people who were involved in the secret Discord server the benefit of the doubt. I am not, because they were saying it in a much different context. They were saying it in a much different context than what we're trying to talk about in this matter. Do we condone pedophilia? Absolutely not. But that gets me to the second part of all of this, the second part of this debate. And I think this is the bigger issue as to why ResetEra is trying and scurrying to try to scrub clean that this story even exists. And that is the double standard. Do you notice that the people who were involved in this secret Discord server who were talking about this have still to get even a slap on the wrist on the main site? They themselves have said in that chat log, in those screenshots, that they could not talk about this sort of thing and have those sort of opinions on the main site because they would get banned by the overreactive moderators and administrators. However, at the same time, they were saying these things while the moderators and administrators were in the exact same room at the exact same time when they were talking about this. They were present in the room, they were present in front of the computer or in front of the mobile device when they were talking about this. And Ceruleum, when he was shown this, remember, he was shown the exact same screen caps that we're seeing on NeoGAF, said there was nothing wrong with that, and then proceeded to block her, proceeded to block Celine. Now, they are letting this sort of talk and these sort of viewpoints go on in the secret Discord server, which, by the way, they might also be screwing to keep this under wraps, to keep you from knowing that this thing even exists. Remember, we're not supposed to even know that this Discord server even existed. There's a reason they called it a super secret Discord server, and they call a SalesEra server super secret. Why would you keep something like that secret? What is so secretive about getting people know when a game sale is going on? I don't understand that. That makes me a little suspicious about why this is called that, and if they're really talking about what they're saying they're talking about on the title of that Discord server. But on the main site, you see how draconian and how authoritarian and how totalitarian they're getting, and how activism is playing a role in what they do and how they operate, and who they decide to keep on the site and who they decide doesn't deserve to be a part of the site anymore. And also keep in mind, you have these journalists who will go onto that site as well. You have people from our games who are going onto the site. You have Mars Girl going onto that site as well to talk about the Kick Vic thing. She is a member of ResetEra as well. And let me be quite honest with you, if there were any doubts in anybody's minds that the people who were trying to tell you that they believe in this or that on the main site, if they would even get even a whiff that that's not what they really believed, that is not what was really going through the minds of the people who were posting there, what do you think the fallout would be? What do you think the eventual reaction would be? That they were being two-faced, that they were not being authentic with their viewpoint, that they were not woke enough, if you want to use that term, that they became red-pilled, if you want to use that term as well. This is showing that there is a pure double standard. There is a pure amount of nepotism here. The people who are posting onto the Discord server have yet to even get a slap on the wrist. They're not getting punished by the people who are running this Discord server, and the people who are running this Discord server are also the people who run ResetEra. And ResetEra is being as draconian as you can ever imagine. And more so on that, look at all the campaigns they were running. The stuff with Cyberpunk 2077. The stuff with the Nintendo Game & Watch character on Super Smash Bros. What about the whole Sony Censorship thing? They're gonna be proven to be liars. And keep in mind that, as far as I was told, Ceruleum is currently at E3, and we all know how that will end if they get a whiff of all of this. Not to mention the connections they might have with other people who think the same way they do. Again, Mars Girl visits there as well, and she's agreeing a lot about what they're saying. Imagine if she got a hold of these chat logs and saw all that. That's the real reason why they are not wanting you to know. That's why they're trying to keep this under wraps. They're trying to squelch any information they possibly can about this Discord server even existing, let alone that this conversation even happened or that this thing was even going on. That's the reason. Don't get it confused. That's your reason. It's because this shows that there is a clear double standard that's going on between ResetEra moderators and some of the people who are seen as their favorites. That's the real reason. They don't want you knowing that that double standard exists and that they don't really believe what they're saying on the main site. Now, let's say instead of Ceruleum saying, hey, there's nothing wrong with that, him saying, hey, we do allow a more mature discussion here. We let some people get away with more stuff than we do on the main site because the main site's more public than this. That's why we keep it under wraps, because we don't want people to get the wrong ideas and to have us believe that we believe in this, that we are more lenient here. If he were just keep a bit more honesty to this, then we could see where he was coming from, because yes, ResetEra, the site at the very least, is more public, so maybe we could get a little bit more information about why they run the site the way they do, or maybe, hey, the views expressed by the people here don't necessarily reflect our views, and we tried to be more relaxed here, and then not block or say, hey, do you understand where we're coming from? And maybe we still don't agree with it, but we can see where they're coming from on that. But instead, it is the blocking, the name changing, the trying to kill the story. Why do that? Why just own it and say, you know what, yes, we do have this sort of Discord server where we're a little bit more lenient, but we want to make sure that you're on the up and up and you're not going to just run out to the first person and say, hey, they're doing this and doing that, without understanding that we're being more lenient here than we could ever be on this main site. They could do that and they would get out of so much trouble, but they choose not to. Instead, they're squelching the story. That's why there's a lot of problems right now. And that's why the media needs to do a better job of covering this story. They need to do a better job of understanding that the story exists. Why is half of Reddit trying to kill the story? You should be showing this to the world, that there's this double standard. The gaming media needs to get a hold of the story and publish it. What are you so afraid of? Who are you so afraid of? You're the journalist. You're supposed to protect us against stuff like this. You're supposed to do that. That's your job. That is what you're paid to do. And instead, you're taking corporate greed, corporate funds, corporate money from investors and advertisers, and you're protecting people. That's not what we are reading your sites for. That's why YouTubers are more trustworthy. It's because we don't have the middleman. We don't care about a middleman. That's why I said what I said when I talked about YouTube being under attack. Because it is. And you're seeing right now the reason why people trust us a lot more than you. It is because of things like this. This needs to be reported by a lot of people, and instead you're protecting them because they are protecting you. Because they're saying the stuff you want to hear. Instead of, okay, there's a lot of nuance about these subjects. There's a lot of people who think a lot of different things about the cyberpunk ad, what have you. No, it's the advertisers who are saying, hey, we want to take advantage of this woke type of thinking, for lack of a better term, because that's more profitable to us. And because of that, you don't want to cover this. Why subreddits are not wanting to cover this is beyond me. Remember, the names are important to show in this case because they show that the ResetEra members who were in there were never punished at all. And it shows the double standard. That's why it's so important. Even though the risk is there, I don't think the risk is there in the same way you would have have in some other cases of them beginning doxxed. And no, you should never dox anybody. Let's not start trying to think that that's the solution we need to go into, so that's not. But to close this out, yes, we can have a discussion about the Sony censorship and what that all means. That deserves its own video, and I think I covered that before. I think I mentioned that before, and I might want to do it again, because there's a lot more topics that can be discussed on the back of that. But let's be quite honest, it is the double standard that they're trying to hide. It is more the double standard. Yes, they are trying to hide that they're talking about this in the viewpoints that are being expressed there. They're trying to hide that as well. But even though they're worried about that too, they're even more worried about the showing of the double standard. They're more worried about you seeing, first of all, that this Discord server even exists, even though it's a Discord sales thing, which I don't understand why you would keep that secret in the first place. Even then, even when you're showing that it's a Discord server that shouldn't be shown in the first place according to them, I don't know why you would keep something like that secret. And you have to go through all of these loopholes in order to know that there's such a Discord server that exists, but they're so worried about the double standard. And that's why you need to cover this. That's why we are covering it. That's why this is such a big deal. And that's why ResetEra is trying to hit the reset button. There needs to be a Twitter hashtag for this. I'm not sure what you would call it. Maybe push the reset button or something like that. I don't know. But if you're watching this video, get involved. Get more people who you know will talk about this to talk about this. Don't stop getting people to pay attention to this, because I've always said that we had to pay more attention to what's going on this site, and we've never have paid attention. Some of the more prominent YouTubers have yet to even discuss their existence, and this is what ends up happening. They have been activists, they've been a thorn in people's side and thorn in publishers and developers side for a long time now, ever since they started forming, ever since they were part of NeoGAF back in the day. Now they're seeing what happens when the shoe is on the other foot, when they're getting a taste of their own medicine, and that medicine tastes like penicillin, doesn't it? It doesn't taste too good. So now you understand what you've put other people through, and hopefully we now get why we have to pay attention to things like this, why we have to take a stand against things like this, because if we don't, then all you do is hit the reset button on progress. Thank you once again for watching and listening. Please hit the like button if you like this video, and also please be advised I'm trying to not ramble as much as I'm being told that I do. If I had done so, I do apologize, but I'm trying to cut down the amount of words I say in order to get to the point, and I think I'm trying my best to do that. Thank you as always for watching. Please let me know what you think, and if you are somebody who is tired of this, please do your part in order to get people to pay attention. We do have to get people to pay attention. Until next time, my name is Shady Shadow, and that just happened.